And now it works.
Okay, good.
Yeah, your sound is okay in my control panel and my voice
Yes,
also, so we can start.
sure, good.
Hallo liebe Freunde von Inkish, ich habe heute einen internationalen Gast, Jacob Isikovic, and therefore we switch to English. And hello Jacob, you are actually in Israel, and how are you today?
Oh, thank you. Hello, Andreas. It's great to see you after quite a long time that we haven't met. So at least virtually, I'm fine. I'm very well. Everything is fine. Nice sunny day. So it's okay. All okay.
That means you are in a good mood, and that's great because we have an interesting topic to talk about today, and it's your passion. It's all about cross media, omni-channel, and also print is always involved in your world. And you identified that the print industry has a totally different understanding of the value of print than their potential customers, the marketeers on the enterprise marketing side. What makes you think that?
Well, it's first of all, what I presented in this article is think of it as a hypothesis. It's not like research or statistical checking that I've done, but what I see is that the experts from the print industry are continuing to publish and to promote all the different aspects where print has value. It's tactile, it's something you hold in your hand, you cannot just throw it away, all of these good things. And even people that are very much in the digital age, when they see print, they see, oh, it's valuable. And by the way, we are talking about print that is creative and personalized. Okay, so the print industry continues to promote this message, and what I see is that on the other side, the CMOs, their staff, the marketing executives, they are not necessarily embracing print at the same level or at a level that would match the value of print as presented by the print industry. So the thesis I'm coming up with this article, it's really for discussion. I'm saying, look, education, communication, explanation, all of this is important, but maybe there is something else. And so my article is about the fact that maybe there is something else, and the something else in my mind is that the way people handle print for personalization, and I'm talking about marketing application, I'm not talking about plain simple transactional thing. So the way people handle print for these applications, in most cases, is very different from the way they are handling the digital media. And that's the thesis of this document. I'm trying to say, look, all of these marketing executives, they are being bombarded by experience, customer experience, journeys, touch points, and they call it also omni-channel, but in their mind, it's all in the digital domain. And in the digital domain, everything is online. Everything is from now to now. Everything is connected. It's very easy to move from an email to a landing site to an SMS, to integrate into it an application. But when you come to say, hey, I want to introduce print into the mix, because I read that print is valuable, I heard about it, someone told me, then in most cases, not all cases, you're actually challenged because it's a very different workflow. It's a very different practice. In many cases, not connected to the same data. So it's becoming something very different. And so I'm saying, look, I believe that because of that, we see less embracement of print than we would have seen, or we should have seen, given the value of print. And that's the thesis of the paper. I don't have a research on that. I'm saying, hey guys, what do you think about it? And to
And
you, I can say
I
that
I
I'm
think
coming to it from my experience with XMPie. So there is an XMPie story here, but I wrote it independent.
so. Then that means the print community and the marketing community, they are live a little bit in different worlds, even if they have a lot of touch points, because to run a print shop business today is driven by digital transformation, is driven by smart factory approaches, it's driven by automation. So it's not a purely analog business anymore. What do you think is the reason? You described the gap, but what do you think is the reason? Do we have different definitions of what is personalization, customization, or however you will name it?
Well, wait a minute. So I'm not sure that we have different definition, but the example that you mentioned about the print shop, when you and I, we know several print shop businesses, we know their owners, and what we know together are people who are also XMPie customers. And you can see that those that are leading, they know how to put together the print and the digital media into one holistic experience, and they can offer it as a program to their customers. And you see some examples like that, and this is exactly the counter case. In other words, this is an example where print and digital interact in the same type of workflows and deliver the value of print together with digital, not one instead of the other. The question is whether when the CMO of some enterprise, of some brand, thinks about customer experience management, when they think about omnichannel, when they think about journeys, about touch points, most of the time they think of these as a complex of things in the digital space. They don't introduce print to their thinking. And I believe that the reason that they are not doing it is because they think print is difficult or complex, of course, expensive, etc. So the people from the print shops or from the service providers that mastered print and digital under a framework that allow them to play them as equal citizens in the mix, they do it. But it's not enough. You need to have the enterprises embrace it and say, we want it. And we can do that because it's not like creating something that is very foreign to everything else that we do in the digital space.
That's interesting to hear. So, because I think one point is marketeers, they are not tech savvies, and they are not want to step deep into technologies, and what they want is they want to have results, and they want to have a better go-to-market approach. And what do you think could be a good performance promise from the printer side? Because you mentioned normally people think, oh, print is expensive and but on the other hand, print is more effective. So even if you have to invest more money or maybe also more time to set up a campaign, it creates a higher revenue, a higher profit for everybody. What do you think is a good performance promise printers should articulate and tell to the enterprise world?
So let me answer this question, but before that, I want to give you something, from my past experience to explain why do I think that there is this gap between the print industry and the enterprises. And that's just an example, and then I go back to your question. The example is from the early days of starting up XMPie, where we came from being very much involved with digital printing. But the minute we stepped out and took a broader view, we had a chance to do it because we were now on a task of maybe creating something new. We could talk with the people in the internet world, so this is like the digital space. Think about the year 2000, things like that, 99. And over there you have personalization, you have color, you have very creative stuff, you have all of these things. And the print industry is talking about their own problem in the print industry, not relating to the fact that the world around them has changed dramatically. And so this was one of the triggers for us to start XMPie and to try to say, look, we have to put digital and print together under one framework. And one of the things in this article that I wrote is that there are certain things that I think should be addressed in order for the enterprises to embrace the value of print. So now we go to your question. And I think that the examples that I see that were successful were examples where the leaders or people in the print industry, I'm talking about the providers of services, small or large, those that had the right technology, they were able to speak to the enterprises in their language. They were able to talk with them about programs, about plans, about something that will end, so journeys, ongoing experience, going from email to landing sites to postcards to follow-up emails and offer such programs. And that broke the ice. In other words, the people on the enterprise, they were able to see the value of print, which they believe print is valuable, but they were able to see it in the context of what today is their main thing. So go to CMO and talk about CXM. Oh, for sure, they understand CXM. If you try to tell them that print, done in the old-fashioned way, disconnected, offline media, pre-processing, prepare a lot of preparation before you do anything, they say, well, okay, but it's not connected. So those that were successful, those that I'm aware of, one of them is our friend Jeroen. I mean, they were able to take the technology that they have, and in their case it's XMPie, but maybe there are others, and offer programs to the enterprises that are in their language, in their concept, in the context of the new digital space, and print was one element in the program. So I think that's the story. The story is that printers should be able to talk to enterprises in the CXM, in the experience, in the journeys language, and stop talking about it in the old-fashioned way, or even talk about web to print. It's important, but it's not necessarily breaking the ice.
That's interesting because I think the printers, they talk about what I call the what and not the why. That means they present always what they can do and how they do it. But when I got you right, your point is identify the needs in the enterprise world, because printers, they have what I said before. They have integrated the digital to their print world and the business, the daily business they are doing. On the other hand, the enterprises, they are purely digital and they separated print. Maybe they do it, but then they do it for mass customization. But they are not aware that they also can integrate print in that world of mass customization, let's call it like that.
I believe that they are aware that they can integrate print, but what they are aware of print is that it's done in a different way.
Yeah.
If you plan a journey and one of the touch points is a place where at that point you will send emails to a collection of people, then it's a very simple decision and the implementation is straightforward. If you want to do exactly that same touch point, but instead of email, it's postcards, then it's a different story. We need to go to the print buyer, we need to see the project, who will do it, it's a different thing. So if I were the CMO and people tell me, yeah, there is value in print, but this is a different process, immediately I translate it in my head to it's archaic, it's costly, it's complex, and I'll avoid it. This is an hypothesis. I'm not talking about statistical research, okay? So I'm just presenting it for discussion.
And do you think this complexity is still given? When I go back many years, for sure, the technology was not that advanced like we have it today. And when I got it right, also from the last XMPie conferences and XMPie user group meetings, I saw that automation and also integrating social media, it's happening on the fly. So is there more work and a bigger workload for the enterprise to use those solutions, or is that part of the printer's job?
I think that's a fantastic question, and I think that it's something that will have to happen on both sides. In terms of XMPie, and maybe there are other software packages that already became online and all that, but in terms of XMPie, the ability to talk to the printers, to print businesses large and small, to help them transform their business, this is let's say well defined and happening in a certain rate. The ability of XMPI to go with XMPI into the enterprises and engage the enterprise directly is something that it goes already to the scope of the whole Xerox Corporation, and that's a different story. But the opportunity is huge because if the enterprises would realize that they can use digital printing in a streamlined, easy way within the general framework that they understand about customer experience management, then print will be used more than what it is today. And I don't necessarily have all the solutions. I'm just making the point that I believe that some of the challenges are in fact technical challenges. They don't have to understand the technology, but the CMO will hear from his people, you want to do print here? Wait a minute, we need to go to the print buyer. I'm a little bit doing an illustration,
Yeah.
but it's not the answer that they will hear when they want to do email or landing sites. All the digital things are always integrated, relatively easy to do, not breaking the process. Print sometimes breaks the process, and so that has to change.
And in your opinion, what do you think? Those we have a lot of print shop owners who are able to offer what you are talking about, and I met a lot of them around the globe within the XMPI users group. And do you think that the majority of those people, they use an omni-channel approach to have a better go-to-market, or do they just show samples? Do they
Well,
practice what they preach?
that's a tough question. I'm not sure whether the majority are using customer engagement, customer experience in order to engage their potential customer. But I do think that most of these people that you are aware of and you saw them, they started from being able to do print and say a landing site, what people call Pearl. And from another direction, they started going with web to print and maybe print and Pearl. But they have not yet, not all of them, only the leading edge of this community started thinking of and mastering the concept of journeys, of holistic experiences, what we call today omni-channel. And they are able to offer full programs to their customers. So suddenly they can actually talk about something that goes over time, not just print and Pearl. So they evolve themselves. They don't use it, I think, for their own marketing, but some of them are actually successfully changing the way they're talking to their customers, the enterprises.
And because of your huge experience, and this is also on a global level, do you think there are differences in the different parts of the world? Are they in Sao Paulo more advanced or behind, like we in Europe, or who is leading in that field? Could you specify that?
No, I cannot, put the finger and say we saw that, from my experience, that we saw the most advanced in one place. We saw very sophisticated things in Australia and in Europe, in the UK, in Germany, in Sweden, and we saw very sophisticated and large-scale things in the USA. And frankly, you mentioned, so we saw also something that engaged, that they were quite impressive in Latin America, including holistic programs for supermarkets and things like that. So we saw it in different places in the world, but it's not, it has not yet become the mainstream. It's like the innovators, the people that understand how they put everything together and are ready to take some risks with advanced technology, they are changing, they are making the changes. And it's not yet at the point where everybody is going and experiencing it.
That means there are early adopters around the globe, and they are doing a great job,
Yes.
but it's not yet mainstream. Does that mean that we need a better communication addressing enterprises to make them aware of that? Because I'm sure we have a lot of interesting cases and success stories, and we can deliver stats and figures of creating good results. So it's very transparent when things are successful. But what is going wrong in the communication?
This is an area where I cannot make too many comments. I think that on one hand, there's always room for the communication and maybe improving the communication. And I, coming from the point of view of deciding to write this article, which is really like to challenge people to think, I try to say that communication alone is not enough. The solutions for digital printing, the solutions for embracing print or including print in the should be such where print is behaving or is used, or the software and workflow that being used in order to create print as part of the story must be much more similar. And in the article I called it online to the software and workflows that are being used in digital. I think that without that, the enterprises will understand the value of print as presented in research, but they will be still hesitant of using it because it breaks the whole process that they consider their main process. I think that we have a chance that a company like Adobe specifically, they're pushing very strongly the CXM, customer experience management, and they're also doing it a lot around the digital space, but with their push and with the inclusion of PDF as part of the touch points, something that also XMPie can do very well. I think that they are maybe helping to, that will help start changing or moving the pendulum.
That's good that you mentioned Adobe, because what in my observation some years ago we had the feeling they step away from print, because everything was about digital marketing all of a sudden, and they invested a lot and they did a great job. But then latest at 2017 they came back and they had new offers also to the creative and the printing community, integrating print. And I think that's a good story we can also share, because Adobe is so successful in what they do, and they know exactly what Americans call where's the beef.
Yeah. I think that still the weight or the importance of digital in the story of omnichannel, of customer experience, of journeys, the importance of digital is very, very high. Most of the people that are in this space, that when they use enterprises and vendors like Adobe, Oracle, Salesforce, when they use the term omnichannel, okay, they don't think print. They think of the fact that you use your app, your social, your landing sites, your email. That's already a mixture of channels, and you use also video, and say all of these have to give an experience where the customer is in the center. They don't mention that print should be there and could play in the same level, the same type of workflows as the digital is. And that's my claim. My point is that we need to make sure that somehow the capabilities of integrating print will be such that for the CMO, the choice of including print or not including print will be just based on what they perceive the value of print, and not based on the fact, it's a different process, it's very complex, I need to go to the print buyer, which I believe is the case today.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had a good conversation a couple of weeks ago with the CEO of Mondi Uncoated Fine Paper, Gunilla Saltin. And she also was very proud that they had a cooperation as a paper manufacturer with Adobe Stock. And so they They had a very good, they find an interesting application. They published a book to use those high quality photos Adobe Stock can provide, created by leading artists around the globe. And then they had an interesting new application to do special effects in printing, mixing up all those different technologies. And I think when we are able to inspire also Mondi and Adobe to integrate what we both talk about, then this would be a no-brainer forever. What do you think?
I think that that you're right, but it takes time and it's a demanding task. It's not so easy to convince all of this, but that's the point. I think the point is to bring to them the fact, the awareness, the knowledge that it can be valuable and that it can be used in an online fashion. Again, XMPy is one type of solution that uses it that way. I'm not aware of all the others, but that's what needs to be brought to them, and then I think the use of print will be much higher. You also mentioned in the past, in different contexts, you talked about subscription and things like that. So maybe the access to print should be different. You don't have to buy 5 big irons in order to print. Maybe you go to somewhere, you subscribe. I don't know. That's more futuristic in terms of my own scope. But that might be also something that needs to be done, that you can get it as a service and not bother with the complexities of what it takes, to manufacture it.
That sounds good, and I'm very happy that we started that conversation, and I think we can have some more follow-ups in the future. But you mentioned the past, and going back 20 years, I think we met the very first time in 1999 or in the year 2000, around Drupa 2000. And when you go back to that point, what was your expectation at that time? Would you have expected that things are making progress, like it happened, or would you have, or have you wishes which are still open?
Well, at that time, I expected that things, once we solve the problem, once we allow you to do things as we defined at that time in XMPy, that voila, everybody will take it and boom, everything will be done and the world will shift and that all the creative agencies will go and use it and all of that stuff. So that thing didn't happen at that rate. And some of it is because you always have to improve your technology, but a lot of it is because apparently coming out with new ideas, breakthrough ideas, changing the way people work, getting the innovators to embrace you, and all of this process takes much more time than maybe what I expected. But during this time, a lot of things are changing. So when we started and we defined cross-media, I even remember I wrote an article with Kerry Sherburne. I promoted this notion of cross-media where everything is cohesive and consistent and all of that stuff. At that time, nobody used the term omnichannel. Nobody used the term multi-channel even at that time. And through the years, suddenly, people defined omnichannel exactly as that. So when things take longer, there are many things that evolve. Like for me at the time, I didn't realize the very significant importance of analytics, the feedback loop and the ability to make choices all as part of the software. And that becomes now very, very powerful. And I think that I could not envision the speed at which the digital revolution will take place. I think that's something that I think that we had the good insight that says, hey, there is an internet there, and we need to make sure that internet and print are not like disconnected. So that's the foundation vision. But we never realized how quickly things will evolve on the digital side. And it took us, and it's still, there is room to improve, to improve and to make sure that you play well in that space. Overall, I think there is more recognition today of the fact that you interact with your audience in a consistent way with different touch points, and there are good examples where print is part of the story. So to a degree, I'm pleased. Well, I'm very pleased, but
So that means you are still happy. Even things, some of those things you mentioned took more time. On the other hand, unexpected things came, and for sure, the change from internet communication to social media communication or digital communication, that was also a catalyst for what you are talking about, right?
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Good. Then I think we've done it for today. It
Oh,
was a
okay, very
pleasure
good.
talking
Thank you.
talking to you, and I hope we can see us in person again, because we have something like a habit taking wonderful selfies around the globe wherever we met in the past. So I want to have that experience again. And thank you, Jacob, very very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to have this dialogue. It's great, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
So we keep in touch. Stay safe and healthy. And thank you again very much.
Good. Thank you. Bye bye.